Hi everyone, welcome to the SmartCharts European session. Hope you're all well. So we are coming into the highest impact news announcements of the week. We have the Bank of Canada interest rate statement and press conference, and the US Federal Reserve FOMC statement and press conference coming out today. So the Bank of Canada is widely expected to cut interest rates from 3.25 to 3%. And the Federal Reserve is expected to keep interest rates on hold at 4.5%. So a lot of this is already expected, okay? This is what the market is expecting. So why do we look at these things? Well, we can't predict what the central bank is going to do, okay? But we look for any surprises. Are there any surprises in what the central bank decides to do? So for example, last year, everyone was expecting a quarter basis interest rate cut from the Federal Reserve, but they actually came out and did a 50% basis point interest rate cut. All right, so a much larger interest rate cut, and caused a huge move in the US dollar. All right, Bank of Canada is notorious in actually surprising the market as well. So if there are any big surprises to what the market is expecting, this is what can lead to some really big moves, because everyone needs to now adjust their positions, right? Adjust their portfolios, and sometimes it's a bit too volatile and messy, and we just want to stay out of the market. But then sometimes there can be some clues for us to participate in those moves and to trade, and that's our job as traders, looking for the different clues the market is presenting to us. Okay, and so let's see how they actually respond, okay, and what the markets actually do on the back of those news announcements. Of course, the Federal Reserve will be an interesting one, their statement and the press conference, because of course since President Trump came in, he's been talking about how he wants to cut interest rates aggressively, all right? But obviously the Federal Reserve, independent body, so it'll be interesting to see what they say regarding that and how that will affect the market. But until then, the key is risk management. So again, if you're trading today, make sure you're not too heavily overexposed to the Canadian dollar coming into that news announcement at 3 o'clock. Make sure you're not too heavily exposed to the US dollar coming into the FOMC statement at 7 p.m. So risk management is very, very important, just to deal with the unexpected volatility that could potentially develop. This is where, you know, looking at some of the higher time frames can be quite useful. It can help to eat up some of the volatility that happens sort of, you know, in the day. And so we'll be keeping an eye out on multiple time frames, faster time frames, lower time frames in the early European session, US session, but then of course, you know, looking at the higher time frames as well, and just going where the clarity is. And actually the clarity so far this week has actually been on the US dollar, right? The US dollar has been a relatively weak currency, and most of the trades that we've taken this week have been on the US dollar weakness, okay? And so there's also some interesting things developing on some of the dollar pairs on the higher time frame. So let's have a look at them. Okay, so if we go to SmartCharts and look at the 180 phase change of strategy on the daily chart on Euro US dollar. So we have been trading Euro US dollar. That was one of the trades that we took at the beginning of the week. We had, you know, this trade here on Monday because we had some good turning points and cycle formations against these moving averages. Price was breaking previous high points, which was acting as levels of support, and we had that nice little move there. Okay, so remember, your phase changer strategy is one of the 5 strategies we go through on your 3-day trade certification live learn Forex workshop. Okay, and it's a strategy which helps to identify and train any momentum trends. And every time we turn up, instead of having to click on everything in the list here and analyze every single one of those currency pairs for all the different clues the market's presenting to us, SmartCharts will help us by finding currency pairs already meeting a lot of clues we want to see to take a trade, and then we just look for a couple of things ourselves. So a very simple checklist that we follow, and that checklist then gives us a very high level of focus in knowing what we want to see, where we want to see it, okay? So that helps to make more consistent objective decisions, and of course we can take that focus then and train and condition ourselves to build 100% belief and confidence in following the plan, right? Where most beginner traders struggle to simply follow a plan. And that's from the work that we do on your day 3 of your live trade certification workshop, where we go through your back testing and forward testing work. Okay, so absolute game changer when you're leveraging the power technology, algorithmic technology, AI technology to filter out lists for you, so that every time we turn up, literally 1 or 2 things to look at. All right, so we are turning up with a high level of focus, even though you might not be a full-time trader, and that focus is important, isn't it? Okay, so that trade there, so the couple of things that we look for on the checklist is the first thing, want to be on the moving averages. So the moving averages are the yellow line and the blue line on the charts, and they just aim to give a smooth line of price direction, okay? And we also like to see price is bouncing off levels of support and resistance. It could be horizontal levels, it could be diagonal levels, okay? So sometimes you get diagonal levels, all right, but sometimes price bounces off of it, and sometimes it will break through, okay? Sometimes you get horizontal levels, sometimes price will bounce off of it, sometimes it will break through. But we look to stack all these clues in our favor, all right, and wait for them to converge at the same point. So for example, if we look at the daily chart, so remember, different time frames gives you different clarity, all right? That's why we trade multiple time frames, by the way. So the daily chart here in euro dollar looks quite interesting, something that's been highlighted from the London and City trading floor. Why? Well, let's have a look. So first of all, look, we're in this moving average zone, the yellow line and blue line, okay? So I like to trade in that moving average zone. In the uptrend, we consider that to be the buy zone. In the downtrend, we consider that to be the sell zone. Why? Because it just gives us a focus. You know, we could say, well, you know, look, if sellers have been turning up in this moving average zone before, maybe they can turn up here again. And you can get this nice little runs, okay, in a trend off this moving average zone. And on the way down, price was acting as these moving averages at a level of resistance, but now it's broken through. So maybe now, look, price might start bouncing off the moving average zone, and maybe we'll start to travel higher. All right, so we can see there's obviously something going on around that moving average zone. So what that does is it gives us a nice focus, okay? All right, maybe buyers could turn up here, they did turn up here before, all right? So that's the first thing that we look at on the checklist. The second thing is that we want to see something else, okay? Something else on the chart that we can say, okay, visibly, I can see that buyers could potentially turn up here because I've got evidence they've been turning up here before, okay? Obviously, SmartCharts has found some evidence for you with the ring low formations, different relative price patterns, all right? And of course, if you're not familiar with how SmartCharts is helping you, make sure you're reviewing all your e-learning materials in the Learn section of SmartCharts. Make sure you're attending all your online classes, workshops, webinars, live trading events, boot camps. Make sure you're attending all your coaching sessions, you know, utilize all those resources available to you. But then we just want to look for, I keep it very simple, I just look for simple support and resistance levels, but you can use pivot points, Fibonacci retracement tools, all those different things, up to you. We could have diagonal levels of support, okay, and then we can also have these horizontal levels as well, okay. So in this instance, sometimes you might get both, sometimes you might get one or the other, all right? But we can see here that, look, at this price level, we've had a lot of turning points in the past. So this price level was acting as a level of resistance. So now price has broken through it, maybe it could act as a level of support. So what we get is a resistance and support switchover, all right? So what we actually end up having here is a confluence of support areas where buyers may decide to turn up, all right? Now, SmartCharts will also help the risk management side, which of course is the most important part. If we get the up icon, it will populate an entry price at the blue dot, stop loss at the red dot, target the green dot, do all your percentage risk, reward to risk, and currency conversion calculations for you. I like to set an expiry for current bar close, and then decline or accept the trade here at the bottom. And what this means is if buyers don't turn up and continue this move to the upside, okay, and they don't get through this entry price level by the time this current daily bar closes, all right, then this will just expire. Didn't win, didn't lose, didn't cost anything. But if buyers do decide to turn up, it will go to the target level. If not, it will go to the stop loss level. So either it turns into a winning trade or a losing trade. The key there, though, is to keep the risk low. Make sure you're able to deal with the random distributions of wins and losses that develop throughout the day, throughout the week, throughout the month, all right? And in this instance, we can see that actually, look, maybe we can squeeze out a few more pips here with a little bit of a higher target level, all right, around these high points. So just put up a little bit more and get into this zone. We don't want to target right at the top. We're going to give it a little bit of margin for error, but you know, this high point, this high point, you know, this high point, maybe the market could get to that sort of area and just try to squeeze out a little bit more for reward to risk there, all right? Okay, so look, there's plenty of other things developing. Make sure you're tuning into all the other live training webinars happening throughout today. Interact with all the other traders, identify trading opportunities together in that group-based format, help each other, all right? But in the meantime, I'm going to wish you all the best with your trading, and I'll speak to you next time. Bye for now.